Your traffic was bad. Excuse just became the most boring lie ever told. Real employees are getting away with explanations so outrageous. They're rewriting the rules of acceptable tardiness forever. One, my cat decided my lap was the perfect throne this morning. Those green eyes stared at me with pure authority, while razor-sharp claws gripped my pajama pants. Every time I shifted even slightly, she'd tighten her grip like a furry dictator. Moving would mean certain bloodshed, so I surrendered to her demands completely. 2. My cat had turned into a tiny dictator. One paw draped over my laptop, the other ready to deploy claws if I dared move. Those green eyes said it all, try me. Pet owners know this hostage situation well. Cute but ruthless. Cats understand leverage better than most CEOs. 3. Getting out of the house shouldn't require a degree in wildlife management, but here we are. Sometimes a random parade decides your street is the perfect venue for their Tuesday afternoon celebration, complete with marching bands, oversized floats, and absolutely zero concern for your schedule. 4. A wild bear decided my garage was the perfect morning hangout spot. There it stood, massive and unbothered, right where I needed to back out my car. My neighbors gathered at their windows like it was some nature documentary. We all just watched and waited. Nobody wanted to be the person who honked at a bear. Wildlife doesn't care about your work schedule, and honestly, neither did I in that moment. 5. My cat decided I was her personal throne that morning. The moment I sat down to tie my shoes, she jumped onto my lap with the confidence of royalty claiming her castle. Those razor-sharp claws emerged the second I tried to move. One shift, and I'd be wearing scratches like a badge of dishonor. She looked up at me with those giant, innocent eyes that seemed to say, "You wouldn't dare disturb your precious baby, would you?" The purring started immediately. That low, rumbling sound that makes your heart melt faster than ice cream on hot pavement. Every pet owner knows this trap well. You become a prisoner in your own home, held captive by something that weighs 8 pounds soaking wet. My phone buzzed with work messages, but those claws reminded me who really ran the schedule around here. The worst part? She was absolutely adorable curled up there, her little pink nose twitching, whiskers moving with each breath. How do you explain to your boss that you're late because your cat took you hostage? Sorry, I was being used as furniture by a furry dictator. 20 minutes passed before she finally stretched, yawned, and gracefully hopped down like nothing happened. She sauntered away with her tail high, probably plotting tomorrow's throne session. Meanwhile, I scrambled to salvage what was left of my morning routine. 6. I turned the bedroom door handle that morning, ready to conquer another day. Nothing happened. The lock had somehow engaged from the other side during the night. No key on my side of the door meant I was officially trapped in my own bedroom like some kind of domestic prisoner. My neighbor eventually heard me yelling from the window and came to my rescue. Home doors can definitely be trickier than you'd expect. 7. Heavy rain doesn't just make puddles. Sometimes it literally erases your driveway overnight. That's what happened when I woke up to find my car sitting on a pile of gravel where smooth concrete used to be. The water had washed everything away, creating a miniature canyon between my garage and the street. My car wasn't going anywhere without serious help. Well, this was a new one. I dealt with snow-blocking driveways and fallen trees, but never had Mother Nature just delete the actual path to my car. The local road crew had to bring gravel and equipment just to make it drivable again. Sometimes home infrastructure fails in the most unexpected ways, leaving you stranded in your own yard. 8. Tried the new solar-powered scooter for my morning commute. Seemed like a brilliant, eco-friendly idea until dark clouds rolled in unexpectedly. The battery died 3 miles from home. Had to walk it back like some defeated environmentalist, questioning every green technology decision I'd ever made. 9. My dog decided my car keys were the perfect chew toy. Found them buried under a pile of dirt in the backyard. Apparently, keys make excellent bones when you're a golden retriever with questionable taste. Spent 20 minutes digging through mud while my dog watched, tail wagging like this was the best game ever invented. 10. Traffic doesn't stop for nature. But nature doesn't care about your schedule either. There I was, stuck behind the slowest parade in history. A mama duck and her 6 fuzzy babies decided this particular Tuesday morning was perfect for crossing the busy street. Cars lined up for blocks. Horns stayed silent though. Even the grumpiest commuters couldn't bring themselves to rush a family of adorable ducks. The little ones waddled behind Mom, stopping to explore every interesting crack in the asphalt. One adventurous duckling kept wandering toward the sidewalk, causing Mama to quack loudly and herd it back in line. Makes sense, right? City wildlife operates on island time. 20 minutes later, they finally reached the other side. Every driver smiled despite being late. Sometimes the best excuse is the cutest one. 11. Morning coffee disasters strike without warning. 1 second, you're gracefully sliding into your car, the next you're drenched in steaming caffeine. The cup slipped from my hands like it had a personal vendetta. Brown liquid splashed across my white shirt, creating abstract art I never requested. The car seat absorbed half the mess, leaving sticky stains that would haunt me for weeks. Standing there in my driveway, I looked like I'd lost a battle with an espresso machine. There's something uniquely frustrating about ruining your outfit before the day even begins. You can't just dab it off and pretend nothing happened. Coffee stains are permanent evidence of morning chaos. My neighbors probably wondered why I was cursing at my Honda at 7 in the morning. The smell of coffee filled my car, mocking my clumsiness. I trudged back inside, peeling off the soggy shirt and searching for something else to wear. The delay meant missing my usual parking spot at work. Makes sense, right? Spilled beverages have this magical ability to derail perfectly planned mornings. The worst part wasn't even the mess itself. It was knowing I'd done this exact same thing 3 months earlier. Some people learn from their mistakes. Apparently, I just collect them. 12. Power went out during the night and my alarm clock decided to reset itself to midnight. I woke up naturally thinking I had plenty of time, only to realize the sun was already high in the sky. Technology can let us down when we need it most. Always keep a backup alarm ready. 13. Rushed morning, grabbed what I thought were eye drops from the bathroom counter. Applied them quickly without checking the label. Within seconds, my eyelids sealed shut like superglue had bonded them together. Panic set in immediately. Called emergency services while fumbling blindly around the house. The paramedics arrived and carefully pried my eyes open using special solution. Spent 3 hours at the hospital getting my vision restored properly. Doctor said this happens more often than people think, especially during hectic mornings when we're not paying attention to what we're grabbing. 14. My toddler thought my car keys were the perfect toy for his morning bath. The splash echoed through the bathroom as I watched my only way to work disappear into the toilet bowl. 20 minutes later, a very expensive plumber was fishing around in pipes while I called my boss to explain why a 3-year-old had just cost me my punctuality record. 15. The taxi driver nodded confidently when I gave him my work address. 20 minutes later, we're pulling into a completely different city. He'd misheard 5th Street as Firth Street. Apparently, that's a real place 60 miles away. My phone's GPS became my lifesaver, guiding us back while I frantically called my boss. 16. Well, here's the thing about flash mobs. You see them in movies and think they're cute, right? Wrong. When you're actually trapped in one, it's chaos. People started dancing out of nowhere, blocking every exit from the subway station. I stood there like a deer in headlights while dozens of strangers gyrated around me. The music was loud, the choreography was aggressive, and apparently I was now part of their human backdrop. No escape route existed. These weren't just casual dancers either. They had matching t-shirts and serious commitment to their routine. 20 minutes later, after 3 song changes and what felt like a Broadway finale, they finally dispersed. City life throws curveballs when you least expect them. 17. My car sat there perfectly fine, engine ready, keys in hand. But there was one tiny problem blocking my escape route. A massive cow had wandered onto the narrow country road, completely unbothered by my honking. The farmer chased it around for 30 minutes while I watched helplessly. Sometimes rural traffic has its own rules that city folks never experience. 18. My GPS had one job that morning: get me to work. Instead, it decided to play a cruel game of automotive roulette. Every time I followed its cheerful directions, I ended up back at my own driveway. 3 loops around the neighborhood later, I realized technology isn't always smarter than common sense. 19. Rushed to set alarm before bed, didn't notice AM/PM switch, slept through the morning entirely. Digital clocks can be confusing. Double-check settings each night. The little toggle between morning and evening becomes your worst enemy when exhaustion clouds judgment completely. 20. Morning light hits my face through the bedroom window. Peaceful moment, right? Wrong. A massive pigeon has somehow infiltrated my sanctuary and is now flapping around like it owns the place. Feathers everywhere. The bird clearly didn't read the lease agreement about unauthorized tenants in my apartment. 21. My dog decided my work shoes were the perfect chew toy. Found them destroyed when getting ready. Leather scraps everywhere. Shoelaces missing completely. Had to dig through closets for backup pair. Dogs love expensive things. Apparently, quick cleaning session required before leaving. Sometimes pets cost more than just food. 22. The elevator button lit up like everything was normal. Third floor. Here we come. But halfway between the second and third floors, everything stopped. Dead silence. The little box that usually moves people up and down decided to take an unscheduled break. Great timing. Honestly, the emergency button felt sticky under my finger. Probably hadn't been cleaned in months. When I pressed it, nothing happened for the first few seconds. Then a crackling voice came through the speaker asking what floor I was on. Between floors, I explained, the maintenance guy would be there soon. They promised. 20 minutes later, I'm still standing in this metal box. My phone had no signal, naturally. The fluorescent light above kept flickering, making everything feel like a horror movie. At least I wasn't claustrophobic. But the walls seemed to get closer with each passing minute. The weird part is how quiet apartment buildings become when you're trapped. You realize how much sound usually travels through these places. Footsteps, TV shows, dogs barking. Now there was nothing except the occasional groan from the elevator cables above my head. When the maintenance guy finally arrived, he seemed more annoyed than apologetic. Apparently, this elevator had been acting up all week. Nobody thought to put an out-of-order sign on it, just my luck to be the guinea pig that morning. 23. Street cleaning trucks have this magical ability to appear exactly when you need to leave. There I was, keys in hand, ready to start my day. But nope, the massive orange beast had positioned itself perfectly, blocking every single car on our block. The driver seemed completely unbothered by the growing line of frustrated commuters behind him. His methodical pace suggested he had all day. Meanwhile, I'm checking my watch every 30 seconds. The irony, my street never looked cleaner, but my punctuality record definitely needed some work that morning. 24. Goldfish don't exactly send warning signals before they die. One morning, there it was, floating belly up like a tiny life preserver that had given up. The kids would wake up soon, asking about Mr. Bubbles. Emergency pet store run it was, hoping they had identical goldfish in stock. 25. Rain started falling just as I stepped outside with my freshly styled hair, spent 40 minutes in the bathroom making it perfect. The downpour soaked everything in seconds, had to go back inside and start over completely. Weather doesn't care about your morning routine or confidence boost. 26. Forgot where I parked car. You know that sinking feeling when you walk outside and your car has vanished, not stolen, just lost in the black hole of your own forgetfulness. Last night felt like a blur. Work ran late, grabbed dinner, came home exhausted. Your brain was already in sleep mode by the time you parked. The muscle memory that usually saves you completely failed. Morning arrives with its usual demands. Coffee, shower, keys in hand, but then you step outside and reality slaps you awake. Where's the car? The first few minutes feel logical. Check the obvious spots. Your usual parking space sits empty, mocking you. The driveway looks naked without your familiar bumper stickers. Then panic sets in slowly. Did someone actually steal it? No, that's ridiculous. You definitely drove home. The keys are right here in your hand, still warm from your pocket. So begins the walk of shame. Up and down the block like a lost tourist in your own neighborhood. Every similar car makes your heart jump for a split second. False hope hurts more than you expected. Your neighbors probably think you've lost your mind. There goes the person from house number 12, wandering around pressing car keys like some sort of automotive dowsing rod. The beeping sound becomes your desperate prayer. Street after street reveals nothing but other people's cars, each one parked exactly where their owners intended. Meanwhile, yours could be anywhere within a 6-block radius, maybe further if your tired brain really went rogue. The key fob becomes your best friend and worst enemy. Click, click, listen for the horn, nothing. Walk 50 feet, try again. Still nothing. Your thumb starts getting sore from all the button mashing. 20 minutes pass like hours. Sweat builds despite the morning chill. This can't be happening. Adults don't lose cars like children lose toys. Yet, here you are defeated by basic parking logistics. Then finally, salvation. 3 blocks away, tucked behind a van, your car responds with that beautiful double beep. Relief floods through you like winning the lottery. Found it? The walk back feels different. Less frantic, more sheepish. Time to face the consequences of your midnight parking amnesia. At least tomorrow you'll remember this embarrassment. Maybe, sleep-deprived brains do weird things. They forget conversations, misplace important items, and apparently erase entire parking decisions from existence. Your car was safe all along. Your memory was the real casualty. 27. Participated in team-building escape room. Mistakenly locked inside after staff left. Slept on beanbags until morning. Needed help from building security. Group adventures sometimes go wrong. The escape room was supposed to be fun. You know, one of those corporate team-building exercises where you solve puzzles and bond with coworkers? Well, our group got a little too into it. We were the last booking of the night, working through clues like detectives on a mission. But here's the thing about escape rooms, they're designed to keep you in. The staff assumed we'd figured out the final puzzle and left through the main exit. They locked up the building and went home. Meanwhile, we were still inside trying to crack some impossible riddle about ancient treasures. The realization hit around midnight. No phones worked inside the soundproof room. The electronic locks had reset for the night. We banged on doors, shouted through vents, even tried picking locks with hairpins like we were in some spy movie. Those beanbags weren't exactly 5-star accommodation. My neck felt like I'd wrestled a bear by morning. The building security guard found us around 7, looking like survivors from a very nerdy apocalypse. At least we finally solved that last puzzle while waiting for rescue. Team building at its finest, right? 28. My washing machine had one job: dry the clothes overnight so I could grab my uniform and rush out the door. But no, it decided to take a vacation. There I stood, holding soggy fabric that felt like a wet blanket. The hairdryer became my desperate ally, blasting hot air for 20 minutes. Still damp when I finally gave up and waited another hour. 29. Heard strange flapping sounds coming from the kitchen at 6 in the morning. Not exactly the alarm clock I was expecting. A bat had somehow squeezed through a tiny gap in the window screen and decided my house was the perfect cave. The thing zipped around like a furry drone with broken GPS, bumping into walls and dive-bombing the fruit bowl. My cat thought this was Christmas morning and started leaping at shadows. Meanwhile, I'm standing there in my pajamas with a broom, looking like the world's least prepared bat wrangler. 20 minutes of chaos later, I finally herded it toward the back door. But then I had to sweep up the mess it left behind. Apparently bats aren't house-trained. My kitchen looked like a crime scene. Wildlife has zero respect for Monday morning schedules. 30. My 5-year-old decided to become an artist that morning. The masterpiece? Glue and glitter covering every surface in the kitchen. Breakfast looked like a craft store explosion. We spent 20 minutes scraping sparkles off the table while she proudly explained her rainbow volcano. The school project wasn't even due until Friday. But creative inspiration waits for no one. By the time we cleaned up the sticky mess and got her backpack ready, we were running seriously behind. Sometimes parenting means embracing chaos before your first cup of coffee even gets cold. 31. Unexpected parade blocked my street. Floats moved very slowly. Police didn't allow cars through. Tuesdays usually don't have parades. Had to wait it out. Picture this: you're rushing out the door, coffee in hand, already calculating the fastest route to work. Then you turn the corner and boom, confetti everywhere. A full parade has taken over your street like some kind of festive invasion. The irony, it's Tuesday morning, not exactly prime parade time. Well, there I was, trapped behind a line of cars watching a marching band practice their formations at the speed of molasses. The police had barricades up, directing traffic away from the main route. No exceptions, no shortcuts, no "but I'm really late" negotiations. The weird part is how a parade can just appear overnight. One day your street is normal. The next it's hosting what looked like the world's slowest celebration. Floats decorated with paper flowers crawled past while I sat there, engine running, watching my schedule dissolve. But why do these things always happen on the most inconvenient days? Never on lazy Sundays when you've got nowhere to be. Always when you're already cutting it close. 32. Morning breakfast seemed simple enough. Crack an egg into a bowl, microwave for 90 seconds. Easy protein before work, right? Wrong. The egg had other plans. It exploded like a tiny food grenade, coating the entire microwave interior with sticky yellow fragments that smelled absolutely terrible for hours afterward. The microwave looked like a crime scene. Egg bits clung to every surface, the ceiling, the walls, even the spinning plate underneath. The smell was this weird combination of sulfur and burnt breakfast that made my entire kitchen uninhabitable. I spent 20 minutes scraping and wiping, using every cleaning product under the sink. But here's the weird part. Microwaved eggs are notorious for this exact problem. The yolk heats faster than the white, building pressure until it basically becomes breakfast dynamite. Food scientists actually warn against microwaving whole eggs, but nobody reads those safety manuals that come with appliances, do they? My kitchen still reeked like a science experiment gone wrong. Opening windows didn't help much. The neighbors probably thought I was cooking some exotic disaster in there. I grabbed a granola bar instead and called it breakfast, wondering why I ever thought the microwave was a shortcut to anything. 33. Halfway to work, something felt off about my outfit. That's when it hit me. I was still wearing my flannel pajama pants and fuzzy slippers. The horror, turning around meant being late, but showing up in sleepwear wasn't exactly professional either. 34. My phone battery died overnight because I forgot to plug it in. No alarm meant oversleeping by 2 hours. Then I spent precious minutes hunting for my charger under piles of laundry. Modern life runs on these devices, but they're only helpful when actually charged and working properly. 35. My cat became my personal prison warden that Tuesday morning. She jumped onto my lap while I was tying my shoes and settled in like she owned the place. Those claws dug just deep enough to send a clear message: move and suffer the consequences, human. The purring started immediately. Low, rumbling, hypnotic. She knew exactly what she was doing. One paw stretched out, then the other, claiming more territory on my legs. Her eyes locked onto mine with that smug cat expression that says, "Try me." Minutes ticked by. My phone buzzed with work messages. The clock on the wall seemed to mock me with each passing second. But there she sat, completely unbothered by my growing panic about being late. Then there's the guilt factor that every pet owner knows too well. How do you disturb something so perfectly content? She looked absolutely angelic in that moment, despite holding me hostage. Her whiskers twitched slightly as she dozed. The worst part, she was warm and soft and making those little happy chirping sounds. My heart melted even as my schedule crumbled. This tiny dictator had won again, and somehow I didn't mind being her favorite prisoner for just a little longer. 36. Door handles have a special talent for betrayal. Mine decided to jam shut while I was brushing my teeth, trapping me inside my own bathroom. The mechanism seized up completely. My roommate heard my desperate calls for help through the thin walls. She had to work the handle from outside while I pushed from inside. We spent 15 minutes trying different techniques before the door finally gave way. By then, my morning schedule was completely derailed. 37. Unseasonal storms hit harder these days. Climate scientists weren't kidding about extreme weather patterns becoming the new normal. My street turned into a temporary river overnight, trapping every car like sitting ducks. Water reached halfway up my tires. Even emergency services couldn't navigate through until hours later. The weather app had predicted light drizzle. Instead, Mother Nature delivered what felt like a monsoon in suburbia. Neighbors stood on their porches watching cars float like toys in a bathtub. One guy actually tried wading to his Honda. Bad idea. Then there's the waiting game. You can't drive through floodwater without risking your engine. Insurance companies love reminding you about that after the damage is done. So we all became temporary prisoners in our own neighborhood, watching the water slowly recede inch by inch. Climate change isn't some distant threat anymore. It's the reason I missed 3 meetings and had to explain to my boss why half the city looked like Venice for a morning. 38. My glasses slipped right off my nose and dove straight into the toilet bowl like they were going for a swim. What are the odds? I had to fish them out with rubber gloves, scrub them with disinfectant for 5 minutes, and dry them completely. Without my glasses, I'm basically walking into walls and mistaking fire hydrants for small children. The whole cleaning process took forever because I couldn't see what I was doing. Then there's the gross factor. Who wants to wear something that just took a toilet bath? I kept thinking about germs all morning, even after multiple rounds of antibacterial wipes and soap. 39. My baby looked so innocent that morning. Chubby cheeks, tiny fingers, absolutely adorable. Then she smiled at me while I held her close. That's when the spit-up happened. One massive burp, and my entire work outfit was covered in milky mess. Parents know this drill well. 40. Here's the thing about unexpected encounters, they always happen when you're rushing. Walking to work that Tuesday morning, I spotted Sarah from college crossing the street. We hadn't talked in 5 years. What started as a quick hello turned into catching up on marriages, kids, career changes, and that mutual friend who moved to Portland. Time just vanished while we stood there laughing about our old professor who wore the same sweater every day. Before I knew it, 30 minutes had passed and my morning schedule was completely destroyed. 41. Fire alarms don't care about your schedule. The piercing sound echoed through every hallway at 6:30 a.m. sharp. Everyone shuffled outside in whatever they wore to bed. Pajamas, slippers, bedhead hair. The fire crew took forever checking each floor. Neighbors chatted while shivering on the sidewalk. False alarm, naturally. 42. My contact lens decided to take a diving lesson straight into the bathroom sink. One moment, I'm getting ready for work. The next, I'm watching my vision correction disappear down the drain. Frantically tried fishing it out with tweezers, but no luck. Had to dig through drawers to find my backup glasses instead. 43. My brain went completely blank, stepping off that bus. You know that feeling when you're so focused on getting somewhere that you forget the basics? Yeah, that was me. I walked 3 blocks before realizing my work bag wasn't on my shoulder anymore. The horror hit like a slap. I spun around just in time to see my bus disappearing around the corner. My laptop, my files, my lunch, my dignity, all rolling away on public transportation. The next bus wouldn't come for 20 minutes. But here's the thing about panic. It makes you do crazy stuff. I started jogging, then full-on sprinting down the sidewalk like some deranged marathon runner. Other commuters stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. Chasing a city bus on foot isn't exactly rational behavior, but that bag contained my entire work life. 2 bus stops later, gasping for air, I finally caught up. The driver looked at me through the door like I was completely nuts. Which, fair enough, I probably was. Forgot something? He asked with a grin. My bag sat there in the exact same seat, waiting patiently. The whole ordeal took 45 minutes. Commuting means constantly checking your stuff, but sometimes your brain just decides to take a little vacation. 44. Laundry detergent has one job. Stay in the bottle until you need it. But mine had different plans. That Tuesday morning, the plastic bottle tipped over while I grabbed my work shirt, creating an instant sudsy disaster across the entire laundry room floor. The thick blue liquid spread everywhere like some kind of cleaning apocalypse. My socks immediately turned slippery on contact. Walking became a dangerous balancing act between staying upright and not making the mess worse. The suds kept multiplying with every step I took. 20 minutes later, armed with 3 towels and a mop, I finally contained the soapy chaos. Home accidents don't care about your schedule. 45. My cat decided my lap was the perfect throne this morning. Those claws came out the second I tried to move. You know that look cats give you, pure intimidation. She was too adorable to disturb anyway. Fellow pet owners understand this hostage situation completely. 46. Left my carefully packed lunch sitting on the kitchen counter like a forgotten friend. Halfway to work, my stomach reminded me of this tragic oversight. The internal debate was fierce: starve until evening or admit defeat. Turned around immediately. Because hangry meetings help nobody. And my sandwich deserved better than counter abandonment. 47. That freight train stretched on forever. Car after car rolled past while I sat there tapping the steering wheel. The crossing lights flashed red like they were mocking me. Other drivers started honking, but what's honking going to do to a train? Physics doesn't care about your schedule, and neither do locomotives. 48. One brown shoe, one black shoe. That's what happens when you're rushing around in the dark. My brain wasn't fully awake yet, and I grabbed whatever was closest to my feet. Didn't notice until I was halfway to work. The embarrassment would have been unbearable. Had to turn around and fix this fashion disaster. 49. You know that sound alarm clocks make? Well, turns out my neighbor had the exact same ringtone. I jumped out of bed at 4:30 a.m., thinking I was late for work, spent 15 minutes getting dressed before realizing the music was coming through the wall, not from my phone. 50. Getting locked out of my own car ranks among life's most humiliating experiences. There I was, keys dangling from the ignition, door firmly shut. The locksmith cost me $80 and 2 hours of my life. Sometimes, our own absent-mindedness becomes the enemy. 51. My cat decided Tuesday morning was the perfect time to redecorate. Knocked over my favorite houseplant while I slept. Woke up to dirt covering everything. The floor looked like a crime scene. Had to sweep, vacuum, and change my now dirty clothes. Meanwhile, she sat there looking completely innocent. 52. Morning started like any other until my son grabbed his juice box at breakfast. One wild gesture later, and my laptop was drowning in apple juice. Sticky keys, dead screen, the works. I spent 20 minutes with paper towels, praying it would boot up again. Kids turned simple mornings into chaos. 53. That traffic light decided to throw a tantrum this morning. Red for 10 whole minutes while drivers honked like angry geese. Called the city hotline, but they just put me on hold with elevator music. Sometimes public infrastructure fails spectacularly, and there's nothing you can do but wait it out patiently. 54. Breaking a tooth on breakfast apple sounds ridiculous until it happens to you. The sharp pain hit instantly, sending me straight to the emergency dentist. Health always trumps work schedules, right? Sometimes your body decides the morning routine for you, whether you like it or not. 55. My car's fuel gauge hit empty right as I was backing out of the driveway. Classic timing, right? The gas station had the longest line I'd ever seen. Everyone decided to fill up at exactly the same moment. Should have checked last night, but hindsight doesn't help when you're already running late and watching the minutes tick by. 56. Rural roads come with their own special brand of frustration. You're cruising along, feeling good about making decent time, when suddenly there's a massive green tractor ahead, moving at approximately the speed of molasses. The farmer's in no hurry whatsoever. He's probably enjoying his morning, listening to country music, completely oblivious to the growing line of cars behind him. Meanwhile, you're checking your watch every 30 seconds. The road's too narrow to pass safely. Double yellow lines stretch for miles. So you sit there, watching cornfields drift by at 5 miles per hour, learning patience you never knew you had. 58. Smart locks are supposed to make life easier. Mine decided to go rogue at the worst possible moment. The battery died overnight, which sounds simple enough to fix. But here's the thing about smart technology. When it fails spectacularly. The door wouldn't budge. I stood there in my work clothes, briefcase in hand, staring at a piece of metal that had suddenly become my prison warden. The app on my phone kept spinning, trying to connect to a lock that had zero power left. Makes sense, right? You'd think there would be a backup plan for situations like this. Well, there wasn't. The building manager lived 3 blocks away and didn't start work until 9. I called anyway, hoping for a miracle. His voicemail greeting was cheerfully unhelpful, promising to return calls within 24 hours. 24 hours? I needed help in 24 minutes. The weird part is how quickly you realize how dependent you've become on technology. My grandfather would have laughed at this situation. He never trusted anything that needed charging to open his front door. Old-fashioned keys don't run out of battery power at inconvenient moments. Standing in that hallway, I started questioning every smart device in my apartment. What happens when the smart thermostat decides to take a vacation? Will my smart coffee maker hold my morning caffeine hostage next? The future suddenly felt a lot less convenient and a lot more complicated than advertised. 59. Bleach doesn't discriminate. It'll destroy your favorite work shirt just as happily as it cleans your bathroom. One careless splash while doing morning laundry, and suddenly you're standing there looking at white splotches across dark fabric like some twisted tie-dye experiment gone wrong. The shirt becomes unwearable instantly. 60. My phone decided to play a cruel joke on me that Tuesday morning, the alarm was set to vibrate only, which would have been fine if I actually felt vibrations while dead asleep. Instead, I slept through an hour of gentle buzzing like a hibernating bear. Digital devices can definitely betray us sometimes. 61. Neighborhood dogs can be unpredictable. Mine seemed friendly enough until I tried leaving for work one Tuesday morning. The moment I stepped outside, this golden retriever next door went completely ballistic. Barking, snarling, blocking my path like some furry security guard on steroids. My heart started racing as I backed toward my front door. The owner was nowhere in sight. Great timing, right? I'm standing there in my work clothes, briefcase in hand, being held hostage by a dog that probably weighs more than I do. Every time I took a step forward, more aggressive barking. Every time I moved sideways, the dog moved with me. It was like some twisted dance, where I definitely wasn't leading. 20 minutes later, I'm still trapped. The dog's owner finally emerged from their house, coffee mug in hand, acting like this was totally normal Tuesday behavior. "Oh, Rex gets a little territorial in the mornings," they said casually. Territorial? This wasn't territorial. This was a full-scale military operation against my commute. By the time Rex calmed down and went back inside, I'd missed my usual train. But here's the weird part. I wasn't even that angry anymore. Sometimes life throws you these random moments that remind you who's really in charge. Spoiler alert, it's definitely not us humans. 62. Early morning workouts seemed like such a good idea until this happened. Finished my routine, grabbed my stuff, and headed out. Then I realized something was missing. My wallet had vanished completely. The gym wasn't even open yet for staff to help me search properly. Panic set in immediately. No wallet meant no ID, no credit cards, and definitely no cash for anything today. I stood there in the empty parking lot, checking every pocket twice, maybe 3 times. The morning air felt colder when you're stranded without money. But here's the thing about gym lockers. They're basically black holes that swallow important items. I knew that wallet was somewhere in that building, probably laughing at me from inside locker number whatever. The wait for the facility to open felt like forever. Then there's the awkward conversation with gym staff. "Hi, I'm the person who lost their entire financial identity in your establishment." They've heard it all before though. Apparently people lose wallets, keys, and dignity in gyms regularly. Makes sense, right? Finally found it wedged behind my water bottle in the locker. Relief flooded over me, but the whole ordeal had eaten up precious morning time. Sometimes the simplest activities create the biggest headaches. 63. My cat decided my lap was the perfect throne that morning. Those green eyes stared at me with pure determination. Every time I tried to move, those claws came out just enough to remind me who was really in charge here. 64. Face swelling from new soap isn't exactly the morning glow you're looking for. One minute you're washing up, feeling fresh and clean. Next minute your eyes are puffy balloons. Had to pop antihistamines and wait 20 minutes for the swelling to go down before facing coworkers with my inflated face. 65. My cat decided my lap was the perfect throne that Tuesday morning. One paw draped lazily over my leg, the other armed with claws that said move and die. Those green eyes stared at me with pure satisfaction. Animal lovers know this hostage situation well when cuteness becomes your prison warden. 66. My sock drawer looked like a crime scene that morning. One blue sock here, one black sock there. A striped one hiding under yesterday's shirt. Who steals just one sock from every pair? The laundry fairy has a twisted sense of humor. Apparently. 67. My cat decided Tuesday morning was the perfect time to become a dictator. Fluffy jumped onto my lap while I was tying my shoes and gave me that look. You know the one, those green eyes that say move and you're dead. Her claws were strategically positioned right through my work pants. One twitch and she'd turn my leg into a scratching post. I tried the gentle nudge approach first. Big mistake. She dug in deeper and started that rumbling purr that sounds sweet but actually means I own you now. 20 minutes passed. My phone kept buzzing with work messages, but Fluffy had made her position clear. She wasn't moving, and neither was I. The weird part is how comfortable she looked, like she'd been planning this hostile takeover for weeks. My neighbors probably thought I died in there, but here's what every cat owner knows deep down. When your furry overlord decides it's cuddle time, your schedule becomes irrelevant. Democracy dies the moment they sit down. You become a prisoner in your own home, held captive by 8 pounds of fluff and attitude. Eventually she got bored and wandered off to destroy something else. But those 20 minutes, pure psychological warfare. She knew exactly what she was doing, and I fell for it completely. 68. Childcare is like playing Jenga with your schedule. One wrong move and everything crashes down. My babysitter texted at 6:47 a.m. with that dreaded message, "So sorry. Woke up with fever, can't make it today." The timing was absolutely perfect, if perfect means terrible. My phone became my lifeline as I frantically scrolled through contacts. Grandma lived 3 hours away. My sister had her own kids to wrangle. The backup babysitter I'd never actually met, straight to voicemail. Meanwhile, my toddler was happily destroying the living room, completely unaware that mommy was having a minor breakdown. 23 minutes of desperate calling later, I finally reached my neighbor who worked from home. She agreed to help, but I had to drive the kids over first. What should have been a 5-minute morning routine turned into a 40-minute production involving diaper bags, forgotten stuffed animals, and a full explanation of nap schedules. The irony hit me while buckling car seats. We spend so much time building these careful systems only to watch them crumble when one person gets sick. Working parents live in constant fear of that early morning text. We're only as reliable as our weakest backup plan. 69. Grabbed what I thought was lipstick from my makeup bag while rushing to get ready. Applied it quickly without looking. My lips started tingling immediately. That's when I realized I'd used a permanent marker instead. The black ink stained my mouth completely. Spent 20 minutes scrubbing it off with soap and oil. 70. Getting on the wrong bus sounds like something that only happens in movies. But there I was, scrolling through my phone like any other Tuesday morning, completely oblivious to the fact that this bus was heading in the exact opposite direction of where I needed to go. The realization hit me about 15 minutes into the ride when I looked up and saw landmarks I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped. This wasn't my usual route at all. I frantically checked the bus number on my transit app, and sure enough, I had boarded the 42 instead of the 24. Numbers can be tricky when you're half asleep, right? The bus driver gave me a sympathetic look when I asked to get off at the next stop. Walking back to catch the correct bus took another 20 minutes. Sometimes your brain just isn't awake yet, even when your body is moving. 71. My morning routine hit a wall when I discovered something moving in the garage. Not a burglar or raccoon, a snake. My pet python had somehow escaped his terrarium overnight and was casually exploring the concrete floor like he owned the place. Finding an escaped reptile isn't exactly a 5-minute task, especially when you're already running behind schedule. The search turned into a full-scale operation. I'm crawling around on hands and knees, flashlight in hand, checking every corner and crevice. Meanwhile, my phone keeps buzzing with meeting reminders, but there's no way I'm leaving without securing a 6-foot python first. That's not the kind of surprise you want your neighbors to discover later. Then there's the whole safety dance involved. You can't just grab a snake and stuff it back in its cage. Well, you could, but that's how people end up with interesting stories to tell from the emergency room. Patience becomes essential when you're dealing with a creature that can squeeze the life out of small mammals. The weird part is how calm snakes can be during their escape adventures. While I'm having a minor panic attack about being late, he's just chilling under the workbench like it's his personal vacation spot. No sense of urgency whatsoever. Must be nice to have that kind of zen attitude about disrupting everyone's morning schedule. After 20 minutes of coaxing with his favorite hiding log, I finally got him back where he belonged. Crisis resolved, but my white shirt now had dirt streaks and my hair looked like I'd been wrestling with farm equipment. Sometimes pet ownership feels more like running a small zoo than sharing your home with a companion. Makes sense why most people stick with goldfish, right? 72. My laptop decided to install a critical update right when I needed it most. The spinning wheel of doom appeared with installing update 1 of 47. An hour passed, my computer held my morning hostage while downloading patches for programs I didn't even know existed. 73. Construction crews decided my apartment building's main exit needed fresh asphalt at 7 in the morning. No warning signs, no advance notice, just orange cones and workers blocking the only way out. I stood there in my work clothes watching them spread tar like they had all day. The foreman shrugged when I asked how long it would take. Could be an hour, could be 3, he said, not looking up from his clipboard. Meanwhile, other residents gathered behind me, all of us trapped like we were in some weird urban prison. The irony, I'd specifically chosen this building for its convenient location and easy access to the street. 74. My 4-year-old discovered my car while I was getting dressed. Armed with an entire sticker book, she transformed my Honda into what looked like a mobile art project. Rainbow unicorns covered the windshield. Cartoon dinosaurs marched across the doors. Each sticker seemed permanently attached, requiring careful peeling and scraping before I could safely drive anywhere. 75. My car wouldn't start that morning. Not because of a dead battery or engine trouble. A small bird had built her nest right inside the hood, tucked between the engine parts. She sat there protecting 3 tiny eggs, chirping angrily whenever I got close. What was I supposed to do? The mama bird looked exhausted but determined. Her feathers were ruffled from the night, and she kept one protective wing spread over her nest. Every time I reached for the hood release, she'd puff up twice her size and make these fierce little warning sounds. I called my neighbor over to take a look. He just shrugged and said nature finds a way, even in the strangest places. We both agreed the bird family had claimed my Honda for the morning. The eggs looked ready to hatch any day now, so I waited, made another cup of coffee, and watched through the kitchen window. The father bird showed up with breakfast, some kind of worm dangling from his beak. They took turns feeding and guarding those precious eggs. An hour passed before they finally took a break. Both birds flew off together, probably stretching their wings. I quickly started the car and backed out, being extra careful not to jostle the nest too much. Sometimes being late is worth it. 76, my water heater decided to break on the coldest morning of the year. The shower felt like an Arctic punishment. I tried waiting for hot water that never came. Standing under that icy stream was pure torture, but I couldn't go to work smelling like yesterday's mistakes and regrets. 77, traffic turned into a parking lot when school started back up. Yellow buses clogged every street for miles around. Parents dropping off kids created double the usual chaos. September mornings hit different than summer ones. Local events like back-to-school season matter way more for timing than most people think. 78. My dog somehow managed to break his tooth on what I thought was a harmless chew bone. The vet's office had one emergency slot at 7 a.m., which meant dropping everything else. Pet health doesn't wait for convenient timing. And honestly, his worried little face made the choice easy. 79. My solar scooter seemed like the perfect eco-friendly solution. Green transportation, zero emissions, saving the planet one ride at a time. What could go wrong? Well, everything went wrong the moment those clouds rolled in. The sun disappeared faster than my enthusiasm for renewable energy. The battery indicator dropped from full to empty in minutes. Miles from home, I'm pushing this thing uphill like some kind of rejected superhero. My legs burned, sweat dripped everywhere, and pedestrians stared. Green technology isn't always reliable when Mother Nature decides to throw a tantrum. 80. My mood ring turned an ominous black this morning. According to the color chart, that meant impending doom or terrible day ahead. Now I'm not usually superstitious, but something about that dark warning made me pause. Maybe I should wait for it to shift to a happier color first. 81. Basement flooding at 6 a.m. wasn't on my schedule. Water cascaded from the washing machine like a miniature waterfall. My neighbors and I formed a bucket brigade, desperately trying to contain the mess before it reached the electrical outlets. Clean work clothes, forget about it. 82. Bus drivers are human beings with human needs. Coffee breaks happen. Bathroom emergencies strike. Sometimes they just need 5 minutes to collect themselves before dealing with another crowd of cranky commuters. But when you're already running late, watching your driver leisurely sip a latte feels like cosmic punishment. The worst part, you can't exactly complain. What are you going to say? Excuse me, could you please hold your bladder for my convenience? The other passengers shift around awkwardly, checking their phones, calculating how late they'll be. Then there's the guilt factor. You start feeling bad for being annoyed at someone who probably deals with difficult people all day long. Maybe their last passenger was rude. Maybe they spilled something on their uniform and needed to clean up. But still, you're trapped. Getting off means finding another way to work, which could take even longer. So you sit there, watching the minutes tick by, hoping your boss will understand that sometimes public transportation includes unscheduled human moments. 83. My cat discovered the perfect hostage strategy that morning. The moment I sat down to tie my shoes, she jumped onto my lap with surgical precision. Her claws extended just enough to grip my pajamas without drawing blood. Moving meant risking tiny puncture wounds across my thighs. She settled in like she owned the place, which, let's be honest, she probably did. Her purring motor kicked into high gear, creating this rumbling vibration that somehow made my legs go numb. Every time I shifted even slightly, those claws would press a little deeper into the fabric. The clock kept ticking while she kneaded my lap like bread dough. Her golden eyes locked onto mine with that smug expression cats have perfected over thousands of years. You know the look, the one that says, "Try me, human," without a single meow. Then there's the psychological warfare aspect. She looked absolutely adorable, sitting there, completely content and peaceful. How could anyone disturb such a picture of feline bliss? My heart melted a little more with each satisfied purr she produced. But here's the weird part. Part of me didn't even want to move her. The warmth and weight felt oddly comforting, like a living heating pad that happened to have an attitude. Maybe being late wasn't the worst thing that could happen to me that day. Other pet owners would understand this predicament completely. We've all been held captive by our furry overlords at the most inconvenient moments. They seem to have an internal clock that tells them exactly when we're running behind schedule. The standoff continued for another 10 minutes. She showed zero signs of voluntary evacuation from her chosen throne. I began calculating whether I could somehow stand up while keeping her balanced on my lap, but physics wasn't on my side. Eventually, I had to make the choice between punctured pajamas and punctual arrival. The cat won that round, as cats usually do. 84. My neighbor's cat decided to become a mountaineer that Tuesday morning. Somehow, this furry little daredevil had climbed onto the roof and couldn't figure out how to get down. The poor thing was meowing like the world was ending, and my neighbor was practically in tears below, begging someone to help. I grabbed the tallest ladder I could find and started my own climbing adventure. The cat kept moving away from me, probably thinking I was some kind of roof monster. After 20 minutes of coaxing with treats and baby talk, I finally managed to scoop up the scared little explorer. My neighbor cheered like I'd just rescued someone from a burning building. Sometimes being a good neighbor means being late for everything else. 85. My babysitter called at 6:47 a.m. Her car wouldn't start. The engine made weird clicking sounds, she said. I had exactly 23 minutes to find backup childcare before my important meeting. Called my sister. No answer. Called my mom. She was already at her doctor's appointment. Then I remembered my neighbor loves kids. 86. Pet hamsters are escape artists. They squeeze through gaps you'd swear were impossible. Mine chose the worst possible morning to demonstrate this talent. I found the cage door hanging open like a tiny prison break had occurred. The little furry convict was nowhere to be seen. Panic set in immediately. Have you ever tried catching a hamster at 7 in the morning? They're faster than you think. I crawled around on hands and knees, checking under furniture and behind appliances. My dignity disappeared along with my pet. Then I heard tiny scratching sounds coming from the kitchen. The clever little guy had somehow made it all the way across the apartment. I grabbed some sunflower seeds and started making those ridiculous kissing sounds people make at small animals. Eventually, I spotted a tiny nose poking out from behind the refrigerator. 20 minutes of coaxing later, I finally had my escape back in custody. Small pets create surprisingly big problems when you're already running late. 87. The hunt begins innocently enough. You're patting pockets, checking surfaces, mentally retracing yesterday's steps. Your work badge isn't in the usual spot by the door. Not in your jacket either. The bathroom counter, empty. Kitchen table, just yesterday's mail. Time keeps ticking while you flip couch cushions like a detective searching for clues. Every drawer gets yanked open. Every bag gets emptied onto the floor. The laundry basket reveals nothing but dirty socks and regret. Then you remember that weird moment last night when you thought you heard something drop. But where? The bedroom becomes a crime scene as you strip the bed completely. Nothing. Your car gets searched twice because desperation makes you doubt your own eyes. Finally wedged between the refrigerator and counter, there it sits. Your badge had apparently taken a scenic route during last night's snack run. Crisis averted, but you're officially running on borrowed time. 88. My hair got completely tangled in my brush that morning. The bristles locked into my curls like they were making a permanent home there. I tugged gently at first, then more desperately. Nothing worked. The brush was stuck solid, hanging from my head like some weird fashion statement. I had to grab scissors and carefully cut myself free, which meant starting my entire hair routine over from scratch. By the time I fixed the damage and made myself presentable again, I was running seriously behind schedule. 89. My two dogs decided breakfast time was the perfect moment for World War III. Snarling, barking, fur flying everywhere. One grabbed the other's favorite toy. The bigger one wasn't having it. I had to jump between them, pull them apart, and spend 20 minutes calming everyone down before I could even think about leaving. 90. Construction crews love surprises. One Tuesday morning, I walked outside to find my entire street torn up like a war zone. Orange cones everywhere. Giant machines blocking every possible exit. The foreman just shrugged when I asked how long. Could be hours, could be days, he said cheerfully while sipping coffee. 91. Security decided today was the day for enhanced screening protocols. Every employee had to show 2 forms of ID instead of 1. The line stretched around the building corner like we were waiting for concert tickets. Guards checked each badge under special lights, comparing photos with our actual faces in excruciating detail. Even longtime employees got the full treatment. Then there's the metal detector situation. Usually you walk through and keep moving. Not today. Everyone had to empty their pockets completely, remove belts, and wait for individual pat-downs. One colleague ahead of me had forgotten about a tiny keychain in his wallet that caused a 5-minute delay while security examined it from every possible angle. The frustrating part? Nobody told us about the new procedures beforehand. We all showed up expecting our normal quick badge swipe routine. Instead, we got airport-level security without the advance warning. Makes sense to be thorough, but a heads up would have been nice. By the time I finally reached my desk, half the morning was gone. Lesson learned, always budget extra time for workplace surprises. 92. My 4-year-old thought it would be hilarious to tie my shoelaces together while I was eating breakfast. One step toward the door and down I went, face first into the hallway. The knots were surprisingly complex for tiny fingers. By the time I untangled myself, checked for bruises, and retied everything properly, I was running 20 minutes behind schedule. 93. Accidentally set off the home alarm while rushing out the door this morning. Entered the wrong code 3 times. Security company called within minutes. Police showed up to check the house for intruders. Had to wait around explaining the mix-up to officers. Home security systems are touchy when you're in a hurry. 94. Bird droppings have perfect timing. They always know when you're wearing something white or heading somewhere important. I looked down at my shirt and saw the unmistakable splatter right across the front. Nature's calling card, delivered with precision. Had to march back inside, strip off the ruined shirt, and dig through my closet for something clean. The bird probably watched from its perch, satisfied with its morning artwork. Wildlife doesn't care about your schedule or your laundry bill. 95. My garage door refused to budge that Tuesday morning, not because of mechanical failure or power issues. A raccoon had apparently decided my driveway was prime real estate. This masked bandit stood there like a furry bouncer, hissing every time I approached. Wildlife doesn't follow human schedules, does it? The creature looked well-fed and completely unbothered by my presence. I tried honking from inside the car. Big mistake. The raccoon actually stepped closer, as if accepting my challenge. City living means sharing space with unexpected neighbors. Some are friendlier than others. Animal control took 40 minutes to arrive. The officer chuckled when she saw my standoff situation. Happens more than you'd think, she said, pulling on thick gloves. Apparently raccoons love garages because they're dark, quiet, and often smell like interesting garbage. The removal process was surprisingly gentle. No tranquilizers or dramatic captures, just patient coaxing with a long-handled net and some strategic food placement. The raccoon eventually waddled away, probably annoyed that breakfast got interrupted. My car finally escaped its concrete prison, though I was already 2 hours behind schedule. 96. My laptop was still logged into yesterday's team meeting. The screen showed everyone's frozen faces from hours ago. My boss kept calling my phone wondering where I was. Meanwhile, I'm staring at digital ghosts of my coworkers. Virtual meetings create the weirdest new ways to mess up your morning routine completely. 97. My car started shaking like it had stage fright. The front tire was completely flat, sitting there like a deflated balloon at a sad birthday party. I had to change it in my driveway, getting grease all over my work clothes. Car maintenance waits for nobody, especially not your morning schedule. 98. Marathon runners flooded downtown streets at 7 in the morning. Police barriers blocked every entrance to the business district. My usual route became a maze of orange cones and enthusiastic volunteers directing traffic toward lengthy detours that added 30 minutes to my commute. 99. My alarm went off like usual. I jumped up, showered, grabbed coffee, and rushed to get dressed for another busy Monday. Then it hit me, birds were singing, not honking cars. The neighborhood felt too quiet. I checked my phone calendar twice before the truth sank in completely. It was Saturday morning. 100. My cat claimed my lap like prime real estate. Those green eyes dared me to move. One paw stretched, claws barely visible, but definitely threatening. I sat frozen for 20 minutes, phone buzzing with missed calls. The little furry dictator purred louder each time I shifted slightly. 101. Looking back at all these ridiculous excuses makes one thing crystal clear. Maybe the problem isn't cats, keys, or weather disasters. Maybe it's me. Perhaps waking up 30 minutes earlier would solve most of these morning catastrophes. Better planning beats creative storytelling every single time, right?